If you've seen me around on YouTube, Reddit, or Discord, you'll probably know that I'm a big supporter of the 252 base layout, and I always advise 243 users to switch to 252. But I have a confession to make. This whole 252 thing has been a trick all along. 243 is actually the best base setup, and we've been hiding the truth for years. But it's the start of a new month, and I'm turning over a new leaf today. In this video, I'll prove definitively that 252 sucks, and show how 243 is better in every way. But before we get started, let's take a quick look at the history of 252 misinformation. Arknights was released to global servers in January of 2020. About half a year later, a lot of new guides were written that recommended 252 instead of 243. And in the years since then, there have been tons of guides and calculations that say 252 is objectively the better base setup. But all of this information is wrong. Let's see why. One of the most common 252 talking points is that 252 requires less micromanagement than 243. But if we take a look at the facts, the opposite is true. 243 is the more casual-friendly base, thanks to its high-level dorms. Buildings can hold more operators when upgraded, so while a 252 can only hold 4 or 5 operators in its dorms, a 243 can hold 20. So a 252 user will need to constantly move operators in and out of dorms to recover morale, while a 243 user can just put all distracted operators in the dorms at once. Also, a 243 has fewer operators to micromanage in the first place. Compared to 252, it basically sacrifices a factory for an extra power plant. Power plants don't need operators to work, so 243 will have to micromanage operators for one fewer facility compared to 252. So overall, with fewer working operators and more dorm space to hold them, 243 is clearly much easier to micromanage, and more friendly to casual players. Another point that's often ignored by 252 supporters is how much 243 benefits from base skills. Many base skill synergies require 3 operators to work together, and since 252 doesn't fully upgrade all of its factories, 243 gets a huge advantage here. For example, Mizuki can give a big buff when teaming up with other factory workers like Telopsis and Silence. There's also Gnosis for the control center, who can give a huge buff to a trading post containing Prominix, Aurora, and Snowsont. Even if you look at individual base skills, you'll see that Yostar always designs them to benefit 243 more than 252. Wait, not that one! For example, Weedy gives a factory boost based on the number of power plants, so she works 50% better in a 243 than in a 252. You can even pair her with Waifu, who copies her bonuses to double this advantage. There's also Malinar, who gives a huge morale buff to power plants. And again, since 243 has more power plants than a 252, it's pretty obvious which base setup benefits more. But I hear you asking, if 243 is really better, why do actual calculations show the opposite? Well, the thing is, they don't. Let's take a look. Sci-Fi Gemini's base calculations are generally considered the most accurate and in-depth, and if you look closely, you'll see that 243 actually beats all 252 variants. For those of you who haven't studied statistics, let me go over the basics of a bar chart. Bar charts are used to visualize numbers or amounts for different categories, and a taller bar for a given category means a larger number. Now look at this bar chart. Notice how the bar for 243 is much taller than the bar for 252. In fact, the 243 bar is around twice as tall. This means the 243 setup is roughly twice as good as 252. Besides LMD and EXP production, 243 beats 252 in many other aspects too. For example, 243 gets more friend credits every day. 252 supporters always claim that these credits aren't worth much and point to this spreadsheet as proof, but these calculations are wrong. The spreadsheet assumes that furniture parts have 0 value, which is a huge mistake. Furniture parts are used to craft furniture, which raises the ambience in your dorms. This means faster morale recovery for operators like Fiametta. So Fiametta can be used to refresh 9-colored deer's morale more often, allowing her to craft more byproducts in the workshop. So friend credits will get you many more elite materials, which these calculations completely ignore. Speaking of furniture, 243 is much more flexible when it comes to dorm customization. A 243's max level dorms can have 5,000 ambience, while a 252's level 1 dorms can only reach 1,000. This means many furniture setups aren't possible for 252. For example, this Lungman Tea Room furniture preset has 5,000 ambience. A max level dorm supports this just fine, but the 1000 ambience limit of a level 1 dorm means 252 can't use this preset. So if you want all the options of customizing your dorms, 243 is clearly the only choice. And lastly, the biggest issue with 252. It can't max out buildings on the right side. These buildings provide very important functions, and upgrading them is required for late game progression. The training room can only train skill masteries equal to its current level, so a level 1 training room can only train skills to M1. This means 252 users are completely unable to get higher masteries on any skills. Upgrading the office unlocks more recruitment slots. This will allow for more frequent recruiting, which also increases the chances for rare tags. Tags like Top Operator will appear much more frequently for 243 users. Upgrading the workshop unlocks new recipes. Most important are the recipes for chips, which are required for elite promotions. So 252 users will be unable to promote their operators at all, which is a huge downside given how many stages require E2 operators to clear. Upgrading the reception room lets you add more friends. Having friends is important for lots of events. For example, the Ideal City event included an engine club where you could get free parts and FPE for interacting with your friends' cars. So all 4 of these right side buildings are extremely important. 252 doesn't have enough power plants to upgrade these buildings, so 243 is clearly the only viable choice for late game. These are some of the most important reasons why 243 is the best base setup and not 252. Everyone who told you 252 is better has been lying to you. This includes myself. I have been deceiving the Arknights community for years, for which I am deeply sorry. With this video, I will fight back against the 252 propaganda, but I need your help. Share this video, and together we can stop the 252 conspiracy in its tracks.